I think ultimately my North Star across both of these passions, fitness and digital transformation, is that I get to improve the human experience and really be at the service of others to help them accelerate their aspirations.
In this episode of Digital Workplace Impact Podcast, I chatted with Corinne Goldberg, an AI data transformation expert at Google. And during our time together, we chatted about a great many things. That included things like talking about her dual passions for digital transformation and fitness. Interesting to see how both areas are guiding people to achieve elevated performance. We talked about Corinne's excitement about entering into a new chapter in her career where she is now working with enterprise customers to modernize their technology infrastructures through AI services. This, coupled with the fact that this podcast appearance was her first, gave a real celebratory air to this episode. Corinne also delved into 3 pillars of digital transformation with me. She talked about productivity, operational resilience, and competitive differentiation. She also stressed the importance of fostering a data-driven culture within organizations using something she calls ARC principles of accessibility, reliability, and creativity. And we capped off our discussion with a little bit of future gazing around digital transformation. And she translated that into some topical advice for data transformation leaders and their teams. This is Nancy Goebel, DWG's Chief Executive and Digital Workplace Impact Podcast host. As always, this podcast is brought to you by Digital Workplace Group. Join me now in conversation with Corinne Goldberg. Happy listening. Corinne, I have to tell you, I have been so looking forward to this conversation. Welcome to the Digital Workplace Impact Podcast studio.
Thank you so much, Nancy, and the Digital Workplace Impact Podcast for having me today. This is a first, my first time speaking on a podcast. I am super excited to be here. I want to take the opportunity as well to share that the content that I'm going to speak about today reflects my own opinions, my own perspectives and beliefs, and does not reflect those of the company that I work for, which is Google. So now that that's out of the way, we can dive in.
Well, I have to say that it's a real treat for me to be sharing such a first with you. I know that you are someone who is passionate about a great many things, and over the next 40 minutes or so, I can't wait to explore all of that with you. But I think it's probably helpful for us to start with a little bit of context first. And I guess another exciting thing is that you've just moved into a brand new role. And so we'll get to explore that too. So first of several kinds for our conversation today. And so just to put that in context for our listeners, you now lead AI services strategy for Google Cloud Platform customers. And I just can't wait to learn how your career trajectory would take you into such a role.
Sure. So you're right. I recently began a new role as a strategic pursuit lead in the Google Cloud Consulting organization, which is super exciting. And what that means is I work with the enterprise segment to modernize their technology infrastructure through AI services. So the problem statements that I'm thinking about with our customers is, how can the enterprise deploy a modern tech stack powered by the best AI-powered tools on the market? So today I'm working with business leaders to think about how they can drive competitive advantage, how they can capture incremental market share, as well as drive operational efficiencies. That could mean modernizing their IT, their HR, their marketing or sales functions through digital. So that's where I am today, but my career certainly hasn't been linear. It's been a lot of fun, very challenging moments, and ultimately really rewarding to be able to work with some of the most recognized brands over the years to transform the way that they go to market with technology. So I think a great place to start is how I've thought about my career aspirations over the years. the way that I tend to make career decisions is by addressing two questions. The first is, what problem statement does this product, this role, or scope solve? And how big and compelling is this problem statement? And the second question is, does this problem statement energize me? I think life is too short to work on boring problems. So I really think about, do I want to get up and out of bed every morning and tackle this problem or challenge? So answering those two questions has led me to a variety of really interesting customer-oriented roles. I've been customer-facing for my entire career across enterprise strategy, tech consulting, and it's been really, really valuable for me to be able to work with lots of lines of business to reorient their tech stack to drive better productivity, future of work, marketing outcomes. So for me, this next phase in my career is all about tackling the tremendous $800 billion or so revenue opportunity that businesses have with cloud technology and with AI products. So super exciting and slightly intimidating, but looking forward to digging in.
I'm hinted at the fact that you are someone that I've quickly come to see has a broad range of passions. So digital transformation is one and fitness is another. And so that's an unusual combination. And I would love to learn a little bit more about each of these with you.
Sure. These are two of my biggest passions in the world, teaching fitness and supporting companies on their digital transformation journeys. And I think on the surface, fitness and enterprise digital transformation probably don't seem like they have much in common, right? As a fitness coach, I have really the humbling privilege to teach spinning to people. And for those of you who haven't taken a cycling or an indoor, spinning class before, I can paint a little picture. So imagine that you get to spend 45 minutes of your very busy day in a dark, sweaty room on a stationary cycling bike with a bunch of other people. The bike goes absolutely nowhere and everywhere at the same time. You're riding to your favorite music, blasting, EDM, hip hop, techno, whatever it is that gets you out of bed in the morning. And you have a coach in your corner at the front who is either screaming her head off to encourage you to, push to your limit, or softly motivating you to push past what you think is impossible. So that's what I get to do outside of my primary day job. And it's so fun. It's so invigorating. It's so thrilling. And I say that it's really a humbling privilege because for me, it's truly such an honor to be able to meet people where they are on their fitness and their wellness journeys and to guide them to elevated performance. And I don't take that task lightly because I think it requires a lot of trust. I recognize that people trust me with their time, with their body, their energy, and I strive to always protect and to champion that. So if I think about, what it takes to be a fitness coach, I think it's really about discipline, creativity, selflessness, and passion.
And I have to believe in the work that you do vis-a-vis digital transformation, that you're pulling on a lot of the same things.
I feel that way. I think as someone, who's working on digital transformation initiatives, what really excites me about this space is that I feel like I also have the really humbling privilege to work with people in all sorts of businesses to inspire them to push the boundaries. So, I speak with CIOs, with CTOs, with CHROs, with chief customer officers, their leadership and their mid-level management teams on a whole host of best-of-breed technology. So we're talking about really tall orders when it comes to building products and solutions for the future that either don't exist today or haven't been tried at these companies yet. So that could be, a new customer support tool that uses natural language processing for sentiment analysis, to surface questions and Q&A more effectively and productively for people. That could mean, building a data warehouse to bring siloed data from various systems into a single source of truth for marketing activation or sales channel analysis. So I think ultimately my North Star across both of these passions, fitness and digital transformation, is that I get to improve the human experience and really be at the service of others to help them accelerate their aspirations. So really rewarding and fulfilling.
And you're doing that on a physical level and a digital level.
That's exactly right. And, certainly teaching indoor cycling is not a job that, you do to pay the bills. It requires a tremendous amount of physical and intellectual investment, from creating the class program to overlaying the right type of music to developing a safe and engaging experience with the right level of motivation and inspiration. And a lot of those skills I feel are very transferable to, the way that I work with organizations to help them improve the way that they go to market, the way that they build products and services, and the way that they serve their employees.
And so you've talked a little bit about your process for creating experiences vis-a-vis the fitness side of your world. Let's talk a little bit about how your approach to digital transformations inside of enterprises comes together in order to support things like a shift to more distributed and hybrid working environments, because that's certainly very topical in our collective world as it stands.
Absolutely. It's topical because although we are thankfully, well past the COVID epidemic, companies have permanently, radically transformed the way that they operate and the way that they go to market, and have really leaned into distributed work and hybrid work, which I think is really exciting. So as I've worked with businesses over the years to transform their go-to-market and operations through digital, I think for me, it's been truly, really fascinating to be in the room with leaders of companies of all sorts across many categories: banking, technology, healthcare, retail, who are grappling with distributed work. And there are three themes that I hear most often. The first is productivity. The second is operational resilience. And the third is competitive differentiation. So if we take the productivity pillar, that's really about how can employees accelerate their productivity in a distributed environment with new technologies. Now, what I'm hearing is, the conversation is about what type of technology can help our employees be just as productive or even more productive in this new model. What does the future of work look like? And I don't think any company has completely figured it all out, but I've been really excited to see businesses leaning into experimentation. For example, policies that require 3 days in the office and 2 days at home, more office space for shared collaboration, less meeting fatigue through shorter daily stand-ups, more chat collaboration, all really great methods to experiment with hybrid work and drive elevated productivity. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar is operational resilience. And that essentially means how can we make sure our intellectual property is safe, secure, accessible to the right people for the right purposes in a distributed environment. And I think the conversation there is really about what type of technology can help our employees keep our products and services safe and in the right hands. And then the third is competitive differentiation. So essentially, how can we make sure that our products and our services, as well as our talent strategy, remains competitive as we work in distributed ways? And I see the conversation there being really about what type of technology products and solutions should we adopt to capture share? And that's really about AI transformation across all lines of business, which is really fascinating today.
Well, I really like this idea of the three pillars that you've talked about. And I certainly think that they will resonate with this audience. It feels as though a thread that we could pull across the three is the importance of fostering data-driven cultures within organizations. And I wonder if you can share some strategies that you've found that have enabled organizations to be more effective, especially vis-a-vis their employees operating inside of the digital headquarters or the digital workplace, as it were.
So with digital transformation, more and more businesses are moving to online storefronts. And I think this represents a huge opportunity for businesses to capitalize on the vast reserves of data about their employees, their customers, and the ecosystem in which they operate at large. So that might be employee productivity data. That might be product data about customer interactions, usage, engagement, or even market data about competitor products and services. So all of this data should be leveraged to drive the business forward, but it's easier said than done. And that's what keeps me employed. So exciting problem for the world to figure out together. So while businesses have access to more data than ever before, what comes with that is a privilege, but also a big responsibility. And that's to make sure that data is used in a safe, in a consented, and a responsible way. And that takes time and careful persistence. So as we think about orienting around a data-driven culture, there tend to be three principles that I recommend. The first is accessibility, the second is reliability, and the third is creativity. So when we think about accessibility, I think the biggest lesson that I've learned working with marketers on marketing technology is that in order to drive behavior, you need to get the right information to the right person or people at the right time. And that means really knowing your customer or your audience, what they buy, how they consume, and then making that product or data available to them at the right time in the way that they like to consume that data. And when we think about what accessibility means, to me, that means empowering employees and organizations with the right dashboards, the right databases that are accessible so that employees can feel empowered to be self-sufficient with that data and to use it for reporting, analytics, and real-time actioning. The second pillar I mentioned is reliability. So this is really back to my initial point on getting the right information to the right person. Reliability of data creates trust, which drives use. So there's this flywheel effect where the more reliable and accurate the data is, the higher degree of confidence and trust your employees have with the data, and the more they will use it. And that's where that data-driven culture is built. So I think this point goes without saying, but definitely easier said than done, that many teams don't have the infrastructure, the mind share, and the capital to get this right. And the last piece here is around creativity. And that's really, to me, the problem statements that your employees are solving. Typically in a technology company, at any stage, we have lots of product and usage information, data points that help the product and the engineering orgs and the sales org build and optimize and sell products. So I think that leadership and individuals need to encourage this culture of experimentation, essentially coming to the table with new and interesting problem statements to solve that require engagement with data. So for example, how can we drive behavior on our website? How can we make our customer experience more pleasant? How can we reduce friction in the customer support process? These are all problem statements that folks within organizations should feel empowered to address and to really dig into and to creatively problem solve. And I think with those problem statements and the ability to get creative comes a greater aptitude for a data-driven culture.
And of course, we have to bring in the parallel of the employee experience to go alongside that as well.
Absolutely. a data-driven culture to me means that employees within an organization and employees at the service of their customers have the ability with ease to take advantage of the vast reserves of data that exist within an organization to power products, services, and employee experience.
Well, I have to say, as you were talking about these three core areas, accessibility, reliability, and creativity, I couldn't help but think about this as the new ARC, A-R-C, for a data-driven culture in the digital workplace.
Absolutely.
And so often when you have a framework like this, there are bound to be challenges that surface. And so I would love to get a little bit of a window into what some of those challenges look like and how you've helped overcome them inside of large organizations.
I mentioned that digital transformation is very exciting, energizing, invigorating for myself and many, business leaders, but it definitely doesn't come without a whole host of challenges. So I think this is a great question to dig into because organizations need to better understand how to overcome these challenges in order to grow. So there are a couple of challenges that I think I've experienced in my career when I am partnering with organizations to drive their digital transformation initiatives forward. The first is sponsorship. And by that, I mean typically executive sponsorship. So that is executive level champions and leaders who will make digital transformation a true priority when it comes to actual delivery versus just a nice bullet to have on their strategy deck. So to be an executive level champion of a digital transformation initiative at a large established organization, I think requires a lot of vulnerability on that person's part, someone who's able to really stick their neck out and put themselves on the line to champion broad transformation across a business that has a great chance of success, but that also has a great chance of failure. And I think that's not only the case at large established organizations, but even more the case at earlier stage startups, where the pace of change is so rapid and so much is on the line when it comes to investment, setting the foundations up for potential acquisition or IPO. So an executive sponsor is critical in my mind to being able to successfully land a digital transformation initiative, and really challenging often to achieve without the right type of deep understanding of what matters across the business. So I think a couple of the ways that I've overcome executive sponsorship is as follows. The first is being able to identify a budget holder whose career ambitions match what I'm trying to drive. So I mentioned putting yourself on the line. Imagine if you're asked to lead an initiative that will completely transform the customer experience at your company. That's a really, really big, lofty goal. And you might have championed the current existing infrastructure, which might be working well, but you are now tasked with this opportunity to completely transform it, to change all of the systems and processes that you have put in place. And so if you're able to identify an opportunity for that person to receive a promotion, to get credit from the C-suite for such initiative once it lands, to be able to rally and marshal their team to champion the initiative across the business for, professional and career success. I think that's a really great way to solve for the executive sponsorship challenge. And the second piece here is being able to disqualify sponsors who are not the right fit and then quickly move on. I think oftentimes we can get stuck on an individual or a set of individuals who we think will be champions of a digital transformation initiative, but actually might not have the capacity, the mind share, or quite frankly, the interest at that moment in time. So being able to quickly disqualify sponsors who are not the right fit and moving on is a really great way to overcome this initial challenge of executive sponsorship.
I have to say, that's a pretty bold move. And I've talked to quite a lot of people over time, and I've always positioned it as find your passionate advocate. And so we're certainly in alignment on that point. It can be tricky politically to disqualify sponsors. So how do you advise navigating that dynamic?
You raise a great point. It's not easy. And I think change management is the second challenge that I wanted to raise, which I think goes hand in hand with executive sponsorship. So disqualification of sponsors who aren't the right fit, qualification of sponsors who are, I think really requires a very strong change management program where the groundwork is laid to effectively drive change across the business through a whole host of champion sponsors that ladder up to, the executive sponsor. So change management, I think, is one of the most challenging as well as fun elements of any transformation program because, again, change requires skin in the game. It requires people to be vulnerable, adaptable, and perhaps even fail at first. So I think the most successful companies that I've seen in my career that land transformation have a strong network of champions and change agents. And part of that change management process requires an assessment at the beginning of the program, pre-implementation, to figure out exactly who the right sponsor is based on interest, appetite, career aspirations. So I would recommend, in order to disqualify a sponsor, baking into a change management program at the very beginning, really careful assessment of leadership, and spend a lot of time on that part because getting it right will make all of the difference. The second point here within the broader change management recommendation is identifying opportunities to create customer or employee case studies, elevate executive sponsors to speaking opportunities, highlight wins, create proof points so that the business can really get excited about the transformation agenda. And I would recommend creating those case studies and those early wins really early on, even well before the program has landed, because the opportunity to create excitement and energy around an initiative rather than focus on fear of failure and friction will contribute to greater success. I can think of a lot of opportunities in my career where I've worked with enterprises of all sizes to elevate them through customer advocacy programs, which are programs that provide an opportunity for customers and employees within those organizations to be featured and to showcase how they have supported and evangelized change. I can think of one great example of a business that I was working with. They are a technology company and they create big mainframe servers, and they were experimenting with a new collaboration software. So they were thinking about Teams, Slack, Workspace, and they ended up rolling out a brand new collaboration framework during the pandemic. So everyone was working from home and they really needed a strong collaboration strategy and a technology that was fit for purpose. And their chief information officer was able to evangelize the migration of their entire 1,200 person organization from a current collaboration tool to a best of breed tool. Slack is one of my favorite collaboration tools, apart from Workspace. So they migrated and they had a really, really vast network of change agents and champions across the business who were able to really, really excite all of the lines of business, sales, IT, marketing, customer success through various engagement strategies and incentive plans. So really, really awesome to see an organization completely transform the way that they work in a hybrid distributed environment in the midst of the pandemic and really leverage the power of a champions program to successfully land the implementation.
I've always said that it is important to use a major event to help leapfrog a change that you want to bring forward. So change for change, right? And so the pandemic was certainly quite the strategic lever for helping to create a flywheel effect, as you talked about it earlier, for changes like this example you just shared. Certainly, the idea of emerging technology is another big change catalyst. Of course, we can say that now that we're in the middle of the age of AI. And I think it would be nice to do a little bit of future gazing with you and talk a little bit about either emerging tech specifically or trends that you think will have the greatest impact on digital transformation, specifically for digital workplaces in the next 3 to 5 years?
Let's do it. I have been fascinated by the proliferation of artificial intelligence and generative AI and the various application of AI-powered tools across a whole host of lines of business. It's been really rewarding to see businesses transform the way that they go to market, the way that they build products and services, the way that they service their customers and their employees. So I'm really excited about the next chapter. And I think AI-powered technology will be the future, if not, it is already when it comes to best-of-breed technology. So I think a couple of different emerging technology trends that I would watch out for and that I'm particularly interested in. The first is customer experience and customer support. I think the proliferation of chatbots, especially those powered by AI, will completely transform the customer experience. And so I'm really excited to see how businesses can build their own proprietary chatbots to serve their customers and also to serve their employees. I mentioned that organizations have a whole host of internal data about how their employees move across the business, what they interact with, where they get tools and resources, where they find artifacts and knowledge to help them serve their customers and serve internal stakeholders. And so the ability for businesses to be able to spin up chatbots that are accurately providing employees with the information that they need to do their jobs, I think is really exciting. And we'll start to see chatbots become even more intelligent, to become even more interactive, to start to look, sound, and feel like humans. And I think the more accurate and the more advanced this technology becomes, the more exciting the space will be to really transform the way that employees find access and use information across a business. The second emerging technology or trend that I think is really interesting is within the world of marketing. Marketing, and especially digital marketing, is changing so fast, and artificial intelligence is completely transforming the way that marketers engage in their workflow, from creating marketing campaigns to serving ads to tracking and building audiences, ultimately with the goal to serve the right ad to the right person at the right time. We'll see, I think, this field completely transform with artificial intelligence. A couple of different examples that excite me are AI for creatives. So the process for creating a creative asset to build an ad, that process is being completely transformed by artificial intelligence, both from an efficiency perspective as well as an output perspective. So typically in the past, you'd have creative agencies or folks at big digital marketing agencies manually, create tag assets for campaigns for their clients. And now what we're seeing is that entire manual tagging process can be completely done, in a few seconds through AI-powered marketing tools. So really exciting workflow automation. With that tagging process, there then comes the opportunity to create better, higher quality ads. So that leads to better performance and, better marketing outcomes, more conversions. And then the last one for marketing would be audience targeting and segmentation. So the ability of artificial intelligence to aid a marketer to build an audience and a customer segment that accurately reflects their existing customers and prospective customers.
If we can pause there for a second, I'm thinking about the fact that these marketing capabilities that you're talking about coming into play have applications for the customer experience. Likewise, there are key things that internal communications teams want to make sure that employees are informed about or have specific calls to action that could very well leverage these same capabilities in reimagining how digital communications happens inside the enterprise as well.
You raise a really interesting point, and I think that point is really about enterprise search. Enterprise search is a very hot topic right now, and it essentially means that there now is an ability for businesses to be able to take advantage of artificial intelligence to create a highly effective enterprise search tool for internal communications folks, for any line of business, to be able to access, to search vast repositories of internal proprietary company information in order to find whatever it is they're looking for. Enterprise search is a very exciting space right now, especially with the proliferation of artificial intelligence. These products and tools for searching are becoming even more powerful and even more accurate. And so certainly internal communications professionals, HR professionals, sales, legal, marketing, every line of business, I think, is really, really well positioned to be able to spin up a best-of-breed enterprise search tool and empower their employees to more accurately, more quickly, and more productively find the information that they need to serve their stakeholders and do their job.
And do you have any best guesses as to what will happen in the analytics arena?
That's a great question. The last emerging technology space that I think is really fascinating is analytics. And that is because, as I mentioned, and as we know, data is becoming even more prominent and important and accessible in this new world of digital. And so the analytics space is completely transforming as a result of the vast amount of data that is accessible and that companies are hungry to use and to monetize. And so there are a whole host of data science use cases and machine learning models that data science teams and analytics teams are building for product orgs and engineering organizations that drive better customer experience, that drive product strategy, and that drive line of business outcomes like sales activation, even HR. So I'm really, really excited to see what the analytics space does with analytics platforms, data visualization platforms, data ingestion platforms.
So if these 4 key areas represent the trajectory that we're likely to see vis-a-vis emerging tech and trends, do you have any advice in our final moments together that you would like to share relative to digital transformation initiatives in the age of AI?
Sure, I would love to share some advice. I think there are 3 elements that are worth considering. The first is creating a culture of experimentation. So I think perfect oftentimes tends to be the enemy of progress. So as your organization starts to consider opportunities for digital transformation and creating a best-of-breed digital workplace, try to lean into experimentation and shy away from that feeling that you have to get everything right from the start. Experiment with new technology, new workflows, and create that culture among your employees so that they feel excited and energized to dig in. The second is identifying change agents and put them together. I think the best opportunity for successful digital transformation initiatives is when people are able to really brainstorm and ideate together and create grassroots change. So identify who those change agents are across your business and put them together and see what they can do. And then the last one is incentivize digital transformation. We know that change is scary and that oftentimes people like to shy away from change and really lean into what they know. So if the right incentive models and structure is in place to incentivize an appetite for digital transformation, then I think people across the business will feel excited and energized and more receptive to change.
Well, Corinne, we've covered quite a lot in our time together, from your passions to your best advice around digital transformation and even a little bit of future gazing together. I have to say that I really enjoyed an opportunity to have a window into the work that you do, as well as the impact that you've helped to unlock inside of large organizations. And I hope that this will be the first of many conversations and that we'll be able to continue to follow your work and continue to learn from you in the months to come.
Thank you so much, Nancy. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to speaking with you and the Digital Workplace Impact Podcast soon. Thanks for having me.
Digital Workplace Impact is brought to you by the Digital Workplace Group. DWG is a strategic partner covering all aspects of the evolving digital workplace industry, not only through membership, but also benchmarking and boutique consulting services. For more information, visit digitalworkplacegroup.com.